So I thought it would be fun to do a tier list of all of the starting zones that are available in vanilla classic World of Warcraft. Now, to be clear, this isn't a tier list of which race is the best. This is like to do with just the best starting zones, which is typically going to be from level 1 to 10 or level 1 to 15, something like that. Because after about level 15, all the starting paths kind of converge, and for Horde and Alliance will be on the same path pretty much. So we're going to do this list based on a few things, mostly like, is the zone fun? Is it boring? Is the quest lines good? You know, is the questing time efficient? Okay, is the aesthetic fun? Is it unique? The other thing is the location of the starting zones and how different races might have different travel times to continue leveling and to get to the mainland, for example. So we're going to start off with the dwarf/gnome shared starting zone. First of all, I don't know why anyone would want to be a gnome when you can be a dwarf. There's literally no reason to be a gnome. But besides that, you get the winter aesthetic of Dunmorrow, right? Now, mostly you're just going to be killing wolves and boars, and there's some trogs, but you also get the leper gnomes in this region. The leper gnomes are pretty fun. It's kind of like a unique little monster that you can kill. It's a decent location, right? This is going to lead you nicely into Ironforge, and then you can take the tram to Stormwind. So there's no penalties for starting in this zone in terms of travel time. Overall, we're going to say that the dwarf gnome starting zone is good. Okay, it's not that bad. There's nothing really wrong with it. There's not a lot of winter zones in the game, so the winter ASEC is kind of nice and refreshing. So it's a decent starting zone. Okay, the questing is not too bad. It doesn't take a long time. There's no big time sinks because you're pretty close to the main city, and the questing is pretty streamlined here. Okay, next we're going to do the orc/troll starting zone. Again, another shared starting zone. This red zone is like a little bit hard on the eyes. The aesthetic is like 2 out of 10 in my opinion. It's a little bit boring, I would say. It does transition pretty nicely into the Barrens and into Orgrimmar, so there's no really penalties. Again, for travel times, no big time sinks where you have to run across the map. You can take the Zeppelin from Orgrimmar to the Undercity, and at maybe level 12 or whatever to get to Silverpine Forest. You do, however, at some point, you're going to have to make a big run to Thunderbluff to get the Thunderbluff flight path. And that's typically going to be after Ragefire Chasm to turn in the dungeon quest, because you get a pretty good item, or it's a big chunk of XP, something like that. So you have to eventually make a big-ass run, like 30 minutes to Thunderbluff, which is not the worst, but it's still a big time sink. But as for the questing and the time, it's overall pretty streamlined. It just gets a little bit boring because you're going to be in the Barrens for so long. So this starting zone here feels like the Barrens Junior, like the Barrens Mickey Mouse, Ronald McDonald version, level 1 version of the Barrens. So all in all, the Orc Troll starting zone is like okay, not that great, pretty mid. Okay, now for the Tauren zone, it's not a bad place on the map. You get the Thunderbluff path right away, and you get the RFC quest right away, right? Typically you need a Tauren to share that quest to you for Ragefire Chasm, or if you can't find that, then you're just gonna have to run to Thunderbluff and get the quest yourself. So that's a bonus. It's not a bad place on the map. I think you get the Orgrimmar flight path by default, so if you can just fly straight to Orgrimmar, then that's not bad. I'm not sure, I haven't played a Tauren in a long time. But if not, then you're gonna have to make a pretty big run to Orgrimmar. So I imagine that you get this flight path right away. But either way, the zone itself is pretty boring. It's just like wide open plains, right? And you're just killing like beasts and stuff most of the time. So this like wide open plains thing is like pretty boring. Okay, and you know, if you want to play a druid on Horde, then you have no choice but to be a Tauren. But the thing is, like, these Tauren are like really caught up in this like hippie crap, and it's like the hippie, this hippie nonsense crap that these Tauren are into gets a little bit annoying. But all in all, it's not bad. Okay, it's not bad. It's probably, I would say, it's about the same as the Orc starting zone with the added benefit of getting the Thunderbluff flight path right away, or very early. So they're an okay starting zone. Now let's get into the Night Elf starting zone, which at first glance seems kind of refreshing, right? It seems kind of nice. It's got the cool Night Elf aesthetic, you know, the purple theme. You're in Teldrassil. At first glance, it seems awesome, you know? But the questing ends up being kind of shit. It kind of takes a long time to do the quest lines. I feel like it's not really super streamlined. You're kind of just trying to get out of here as soon as possible. It's not really that fun. I think they should have made the Night Elf questline a little bit more fun, because it actually does turn out being a little bit boring and kind of feels like you're speedrunning to get to the actual game, which, let's get into that now, because it is not easy at all to get to the mainland. So, first of all, the questline feels like it's about an hour longer to get to level 10 than other races, so it's just slower in terms of XP right off the bat. And then at a certain point, after you do Darkshore, you eventually have to get on the boat to the Eastern Kingdoms, and then from there, you essentially have to do about a 2-hour run, either to Ironforge or to Stormwind, or sometimes you swim all the way around to Westfall and then run up from Westfall to Stormwind. So you just have this huge punishment for playing Night Elf for some reason. I don't understand why the developers made this race so inaccessible to the rest of the game. Maybe that's like their lore, is that they're kind of this secluded race or something, but there's no reason that you just have to all of a sudden do a 2-hour journey to the other side of the map to continue playing the game. So if you want to level past level 10, you just have no choice but to bite the bullet and do a 2-hour run to Westfall. Now, if we were doing a tier list of what the best races are based on like the model and the animations, the Night Elves are like S tier, because you can do the front flips, man. The front flips are just in a league of their own. The Night Elves are in a league of their own when it comes to the animations and the models, the attack animations and everything. But we're doing a tier list of the starting zones, man, and the Night Elves have literally the worst starting zone in the game. Not because of the aesthetic, but just because of how long it takes you to get to the actual game into Westfall. If you want to, like, 1 to 10 is not terrible. It's a little bit slow, but after that, man, you just have to do a 2-hour YOLO run to see your friends and to actually like continue playing the game. So next up, we're going to do Undead, and I'm going to start off by saying that the Undead, the lore, I guess, or the reasoning is that you're spawning here makes total sense. You're resurrected by the Lich King, and you start off in the crypts, and you're being resurrected, right? And this guy says, wow, that's great that you're finally awake. Like, all the other starting zones, it's like your guy just like shows up there for some reason. Like, your guy just shows up at Northshire Abbey and says, hey, I guess I'm here. Here I am. I'm gonna be a warrior, I guess. But the Undead actually makes sense that you're being resurrected, and it actually thematically and logically actually makes sense that this is where you're starting. So that's pretty unique about the Undead. I think all the other starting zones, it's like kind of random that, like, why are all these people here, you know? But this one, you're being resurrected by the Lich King, so it makes total sense. For the actual zone, the aesthetic is pretty cool. You're killing bats and undead guys, which my favorite, I think, mobs to fight are like the skeletons and the undead guys. So I like this zone a lot personally. When I play Horde, I almost always play undead, just because I really like this zone, and I do like the models as well. But this is a great starting zone. It's way more fun than almost all of the other zones, and especially all of the Horde zones. There's a lot of cool like NPCs around here. Like, you can see Stitches running around and all these cool guys running around. The questing is pretty smooth, very, very smooth actually. It's not boring, very streamlined. There's no like BS quests. And as for the location, you're right next to the Undercity, and if you want to get to the other continent of Orgrimmar, you just hop on the Zeppelin and you're right there at Orgrimmar. So there's no penalties for in terms of location for the starting zone, and you're already ready to go straight into Silver Pine Forest from here. So your 1 to 15 and your 1 to 20 is very nice on Undead. I mean, I am maybe a little bit biased, but even taking the bias out, I think Undead is a great S tier starting zone. I think objectively it's one of the best starting zones. Okay, now here we are at the human starting zone. Good old Northshire Abbey, good old Elwyn Forest. Now, at first glance, Elwyn Forest seems just like pretty basic, right? It's just like a basic forest with trees and animals and stuff. But if you've played human before and classic before, you'll understand that Elwyn Forest just has like this magic. It's like, I think if we took a poll, I think 99% of people would say that humans have the best starting zone. And there's just this magic about Elwyn Forest and the questing and killing Hogger and doing the Defiance guys. Like, I don't know if it's just nostalgia, but nostalgia aside, the questing is actually good. There's no BS quests. There's no big time sink quests, really, and like the XP is great. You get to level 10 pretty fast. There's a reason why people come and get their friends to summon them here to start level 1 at Elwyn Forest, because it's the best starting zone in the game. It's the best starting experience in the game. It's so good that you have Night Elves, especially, and all other races coming here to start at level 1. And for the location, you're obviously right next to Stormwind, or right next to Westfall. Take the tram from Stormwind to Ironforge. There's zero, like literally zero, travel penalties, like there is with Night Elf and the other races. Elwyn Forest just has that magic, okay? And I think everyone will agree that the human starting zone is the best. I mean, you can say that, oh, it's boring, it's just humans, you're in a forest, right? But Elwyn Forest, man, is just so special. Killing Hogger, you're building up to the Defiance Brotherhood storyline, the Deadmine storyline right from level 1. All the other Alliance starting zones kind of have their own kind of storyline going on. But overall, man, the human one just takes the cake every time. So this is the final list, okay? The Dwarf Gnome, the Orc Troll, and the Tauren are all pretty mid starting zones. The Night Elf starting zone is like just the biggest time-consuming pit. Even though the aesthetic is okay, it's just such a punishment to play Night Elf. But that's what you have to do if you want to play the coolest model in the game. The Undead and Human, I think, are fantastic starting zones. I think if we leave out the nostalgia element, maybe Undead could be objectively better. But I think all in all, Human is the number 1. I think 99% of people will agree with that. This tier list is up on this website, Public Classic WoW Races tier list maker. If anybody wants to use it, let me know what your guys' favorite starting zone is. Let me know what your least favorite starting zone is. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.